Yes, yes, hello. It's Mr. Hussain here. Is that Mr. Hunt?
Hi, it is, yes. Hi.
Hi, we spoke a couple of weeks ago. It was regarding the West Yorkshire Joint Services.
Yep.
I think you said if I don't hear anything back, I should contact yourself.
Okay, so you've not, I take it you've not received anything.
I've not received the subject access request now.
Right. Um, bear with me. Yeah, I mean, like I explained, um, our roles pretty much ended with the actual assessment itself.
Uh huh.
Say that if you still haven't heard anything, I think it's a month. Uh, I'd be happy to send something to WYJS, but it'll just be something along the lines of, given um, the length of time you've had to wait, um, you need to. I'll I'll draft something. Can you just bear with me? I just want to have a quick look in the. Actually, I'm not able to access the records at the moment.
Can I ask, since you sent me the email or wrote to them, have they responded to you?
I not. I couldn't divulge that, but
What?
I will. Well, like I say, I couldn't say.
Well,
Um,
all I'm asking is that have they been subsequent? You wrote to them saying, "Look, you need to comply within 14 days."
Yeah, I mean, I've not asked them to contact me. I've said that they need to respond to you.
Yes, yes.
I'm not going to divulge any communications between myself and them. But
Okay, well that's kind of
yeah, I mean,
strange.
I'll have a look when I can at this, and potentially just send them something along the lines that they need to expedite this as soon as possible. But like I say, our role at the ICO did come to an end um, with the assessment itself.
Okay.
I'd be happy to send something, so I will do that. But just bear in mind that it's not our role has finished.
Okay, I understand this. But just moving away from this, like I said, I can only follow instructions from what you've advised me. You know, you've sent a letter on I think the 14th of January advising them to comply within 14 days. That was on the 28th. I've now contacted yourself stating that look, still don't have this data. But what moving away from this, I'm just concerned of the fact that you're saying that you're not willing to even tell me that they've contacted you asking for an explanation, or you're not willing to divulge that information. And previously, I'm aware that you've also said that you're not willing to divulge who the data controller is.
Yeah.
Okay, but can I just direct you to Article 13, Paragraph 1 of GDPR, which states that the identity and contact details of the controller and, where applicable, the controller's representative needs to be disclosed to me.
Right. That's not something. I mean, what you've already submitted subject access request. I'm not going to disclose that information.
Okay, no, you've made your position quite clear. I'm now coming back to it. I mean, you are aware of Article 13.
Um, yeah, I mean that Article 13 is the right to be informed. This is the information that should be provided to you by the data controller, not by ourselves. If you have an issue with the information that's been provided or that hasn't been provided to you by the data controller, then that's a separate matter. I'm not in a position to disclose disclose that information.
Okay, all right. So, under Article 13, paragraph 1, when it says section A, when it says identity and the contact details of the controller and where applicable of the controller's representative, B, contact details of the data protection officer where applicable, I can then go back to the West Yorkshire Joint Services and ask for that information.
Yeah, by all means.
Yeah, I will, because if you're not in a position to provide me with the details of who the data controller is or who the data protection officer is, I have a right to know this information under Article 13.
You can certainly send a request to WYJS
Yes.
and ask them for that information.
Okay. So under those circumstances, please can you clarify to me your reluctance to disclose that information, considering that you're the Information Commissioner's Office and you're aware of who the data controller is or the.
Like I've said during previous conversations, we also have a duty to protect the rights and freedoms of the individuals that we correspond with at the organisations.
Yes, yes.
And
is that due to privacy and confidentiality?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, if that's due to privacy and confidentiality, I mean, I can understand that natural people need to be protected. Natural people, i.e., those who are citizens, all right. But if somebody's an office holder, I'm sure that the GDPR.
It's still the data. Yeah, I mean, the information extends to individuals working in their personal capacity, personal data under the definition under GDPR. So, like I say, you can put in a request of information from the data controller itself.
I mean, I have put in a request to the organization itself. I'm just conscious of the fact that, I've approached yourself as a regulator, and it's not. I know that you've had now time to investigate and fully come to your conclusions. Obviously, I take issue that this matter is not going to be further taken up, but you've clearly explained that to me, and you've clearly explained to me that what course of action I can subsequently take. But what concerns me is this aspect of privacy and confidentiality. I've contacted you. My details should be private and confidential, considering I'm the complainant. All right. So clearly my details, and I'm in the process of lodging this complaint. I've disclosed to you an extensive amount of information, and therefore I would anticipate that my privacy and confidentiality would be retained. However, it seems that However, it seems that you're now applying privacy and confidentiality to those who have complaint about, and I'm failing to identify who those individuals are, which I have a right, I believe, to know who the data controller is as an officer.
No, I'm afraid you might have. You can, like I say, you are entitled to request that information from the data controller, but as I've explained.
Okay, you've explained to me the fact that it's private and confidential. All right, can you please, I'm directing you to legislation. Please, can you direct me to policies or procedures of the ICO or legislation which dictates that information you're not in a position to disclose to me. I just want to know which section or which law you're saying that privacy and confidentiality is being maintained.
Well, it's not really a particular section. It's under data controller, under data protection law. We have.
Okay, under data protection law, which section?
Bear with me.
Yeah, sure.
as is all data controllers, to maintain the security of the personal data that we process.
Okay, I understand.
I can say yeah.
I just wanted to know if there's anywhere in legislation that dictates that the data controller can have anonymity.
No, but no. I don't think there's anything that actually says that explicitly. But
Okay, all right. So there's nothing in explicitly stating that the data controller can have anonymity, whereas, for example, I can have anonymity under the Human Rights Act for privacy. Okay, so I can have anonymity as a natural person. As an officer or a data controller, that there's nothing preventing me from identifying the person.
Okay, I'm not quite sure what you're.
Okay, well, let's just move away from this. If you're not in a, I'm not going to, obviously, I can't force you to do something. If you're not in a position to do something, you're not. I just wanted to know that there's nothing in legislation preventing you from disclosing the details of the data controller.
Well, yes, there is.
Or what legislation?
Like I said, under GDPR, data controllers like ourselves, the ICO, we have.
Are you a data controller?
Yes, we are.
No. You're not a data controller, are you? You personally?
Yes, the ICO is a data controller.
No, the ICO is a data controller in the sense that it's an organization. Like every organization has a data controller.
No, a data controller is an organization.
That's correct, yes.
Data controller, WYJS, is a data controller.
That's correct. But every organization, the West Yorkshire Police have a data controller. Every organization that's registered with yourself is a data controller.
All organizations that process personal data and are legally responsible for
yes.
data is a data controller.
Okay, that's correct. Yes, that's right. Yes. So your as ICO is a data controller in the sense that is how handling and holding my personal data. Okay, all right. So I can understand where your duties and obligations come into force as a data controller to protect my rights as a natural person who's the complainant in this case, forwarding to you my personal details and quite extensive correspondence. That data needs to be protected, and you have an obligation as a data controller to the GDPR to ensure that that is protected. Yes? But where does that data controller's rights extend to protecting other data controllers?
No, it's not about protecting the data controller, because the data controller is the organisation, is WYJS. We're talking about an individual within the organisation.
That's right. And some data controllers, so a data controller is anybody that's processing personal information. That's most likely an organization. But some organizations have dedicated officers called data protection officers in that organization.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, and so therefore and this section, Article 13 means the fact that other than I need to identify who the data controller is, or alternatively who the data protection officer is. If I'm identified who the data protection officer is, I'm forced to ask for a name.
Well, you can ask the organisation who their data protection officer is.
Okay, all right.
And see if they respond. Like I say, we have the same duty as all data controllers.
Okay, all right. Yes, you have a duty as a data controller just like everybody else, but you're not like every other organization. You're a regulator.
Well, we operate under the same legislation.
Yes, that's correct, yes, but you have extended powers.
Yeah, but we don't have an extended power to disclose that information.
Well, you don't need extended powers. You don't have any powers to maintain the anonymity of the data controller.
Data protection officer, well, we do. We have to.
Okay, all right. Well, look, Mr. Hunt, we don't need to go backward and forwards. If you're saying you do, I disagree with you. Now, talking to yourself personally, I mean, do you have a right to anonymity as an employee at the ICO?
Well, we have a duty to protect people's personal data, but we do disclose who the case officers are.
Okay. So okay, in those contexts, so obviously you've identified yourself. That's your personal data, your name, your first name, and your second name, David Hunt, as an officer of the ICO. Would you constitute that as personal data?
Yes, it is personal.
Okay, all right, it's that personal data, and therefore, because your organisation is a data controller, it has a right to ensure that that's protected. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, but do you accept that I, as a private citizen, I'm not a data controller, am I?
No, unless you operate as a business.
Okay, so I'm not a data controller, I'm a private citizen, and I've now got your personal data.
Yes.
Okay, what's stopping me from publicizing that personal data?
Nothing at all.
Okay, so can I confirm that if this call is being recorded?
We don't record calls.
Okay, but there's nothing stopping me from recording this call, is there?
Well, we couldn't stop you, but obviously there would be issues if you were to, potentially issues if you were to disclose the contents of that recording.
Okay, what issues would there be? I'm a private citizen, I've recorded this conversation, I'm going to upload it to Facebook or YouTube and disclose it to the world. Therefore, your personal data through your operation as an employee of the ICO is going to be disclosed to the world.
Right, well, I couldn't predict what might happen there, but...
Well, I'm asking yourself because you're an information work in the Information Commissioner's office. I've recorded this conversation hypothetically. I'm now going to publicize it onto YouTube or Facebook. What laws prevent me from doing so?
To be honest, I'm not qualified to answer that question.
Well, you work for the ICO, and this is your personal data, and you've taken the time to explain to me that the role of the data controller is to protect.
I'm going to have to finish this call.
Why?
We're not going anywhere.
I'm just asking you a simple.
I'm not in a position to divulge the name of the data.
That's fair enough. We've moved on from that. I'm asking yourself, I've recorded this conversation and I'm going to publicize it. What's preventing me from doing so?
Well, you might, there might be issues, but obviously I'm not in a position.
Well, you've been on YouTube and you've seen police officers being recorded without their consent and permission and filmed and put onto YouTube, haven't you?
I haven't, but...
But I mean, you can, like I said, whenever you have free time, you can go into YouTube and put police videos or whatever, and you can see police being fully recorded. And even the police officers saying, we don't consent to being recorded. We don't giving you permission to record us. And yet they are recorded and put onto YouTube.
Well, what might happen in that regard is a legal matter. If somebody was to go to court, I don't know, there might be legal...
There's no legal issues. As a free person on the land, I can record anywhere, any police officer. All right. If they're in a public place or providing a public duty, I can record them. There's no law prohibiting me.
Well, I would, if you were going to do that, I would seek legal advice.
No, I've sought legal advice.
Okay.
I am fully aware. I'm asking yourself as the Information Commissioner's office, what issues do you have?
Mr Hussain, I'm not going to give legal advice.
I'm not asking for legal advice.
Well, you are.
No, I'm not.
Mr Hussain, I'm really sorry. I'm going to have to finish this call. I've explained our position. I'm not going to divulge the name of the data.
Okay, that's fair enough. You've explained your position. I'll explain to you my position. All my calls have been recorded and they will be published into the public domain.
Well, what I would suggest is before doing so is that you get legal.
I have taken legal advice and nothing prevents me from doing so.
Okay, if that's the case, I'm going to finish this call.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hunt.